Hi everybody, and welcome to another Scratch Quicktips video, in which we'll take a brief look at how color management works in Scratch. We have two other very detailed tutorials about color management and how Scratch deals with different color spaces, but in this Quicktips video we want to go over it in a very brief kind of way. So there's three areas basically where color management comes into play. First, on the clips. Second, on your output devices such as displays and projectors, and third, on your output nodes where you render. So let's take a quick look. Here I have a construct with 4 different clips, and each of those clips has a different color space. If we swipe to the right to bring up the metadata stack, we can see the first clip is in Rec 2020, the second one is in ACES, third one in Rec 709, and the fourth one in XYZ color space. Usually Scratch will determine the color space on its own if the metadata of the source clip provides the info. Otherwise you can change that here or here, or if you enter into the matrix and swipe to the right, you will again have the metadata stack here, but you can also find it in the config menu where you can change it, and also in the process menu. Please note, it is always the same setting, just available in multiple places. So this is the first area where color spaces come into play, to tell Scratch what color space the actual source clip is in. Now when we look at this raw clip, we can see that it's debayered to Rec 2020. If we change this to debayer to ACES, so the image that comes out of the debayer is an ACES image, we can see that Scratch automatically flags the shot as ACES. We can change that at any time manually if we need to. So let's quickly flag this back to Rec 2020 and see Scratch flagging the shot correctly. Now let's have a look at the second area where color management comes into play, which is our display. So here we have our interface monitor, which is set to Rec 709, because that's what our interface monitor is calibrated to. And our SDI monitor is actually a projector that expects a P3 input. So if we switch to the metadata stack again, Scratch now, for the interface monitor, we'll look at the clip's color space and know it's Rec 2020 and transform it to Rec 709 to display it properly. On our next clip, which is an array raw clip from the Alexa 65, which is debayered to ACES, Scratch will again do the corresponding transform from ACES to Rec 709 for our interface. If I disable apply color space here, Scratch will not do any transform before it displays the image, and so we can see the ACES image as is. Doesn't make too much sense, so let me enable this again. Next clip is already in Rec 709, same as the display, so Scratch won't do any transform. At the same time, the image that gets sent to the SDI card will receive a transform from Rec 709 to P3. And same goes for the clip that's in XYZ color space. For the interface monitor, it will be transformed to Rec 709, and for the SDI out, it will be transformed from XYZ to P3. Okay, third and last section of our little quick tips video regarding color spaces is the outputs menu. So here's your main output node, which basically reflects your timeline. And our main output node is set to Rec 709. So once again, when you render this output node, Scratch will look at each individual clip, see that this one's in Rec 2020, so when rendering the output node, which is in Rec 709, Scratch will do a Rec 2020 to Rec 709 conversion. Next clip, ACES. Again, Scratch will compare it to the main output node, which is set to Rec 709, and do the corresponding transform. For the third clip, which already is in Rec 709, Scratch will not do any transform when rendering this output node, because the color space is the same as the source clips. Note that Scratch will only do a color space transform if the apply button next to the color space dropdown is enabled. Now when you want to do versioning, you can add other output nodes to the main output node, like an image node, and set this one to, let's say, XYZ. Now this node will take the input from the main output node, which is Rec 709, and transform it to XYZ. So if you render this output node, you will render, let's say, a JPEG 2000 image sequence in XYZ color space for DCI delivery. And again, add another image output node and set it to, let's say, P3, and so on. Note that for color space transforms, you can only use image nodes, whereas all other output nodes that you can choose from this dropdown can only render. So if I want to render, let's say, P3 DCI QuickTime, I need to first insert an image node to do the transform from Rec 709 to P3, and then attach the QuickTime node, which will get the P3 input from the image node and render QuickTime. Also, for proper color space transforms, you always want to attach derived output nodes to your main output node and not to the circle icon back here. Alright, so in a nutshell, that's how Scratch color management works. 3 areas to look at, which is the source clips and their respective color space, the displays and their respective color space, and your output nodes and their respective color space. So that's all for a quick, brief review of Scratch color management. Hope this tutorial was useful to you, and see you next time. Bye!